our colleague from DG Connect, which is the Directorate General for Communication Networks, Content and Technology for the European Commission. Mr. Suárez is here today. And we are very happy to have you because there was a few things several times Rob mentioned, what is happening in the US, but we also want to understand what's happening in Europe. So Mr. Suárez is going to speak a little bit about the initiatives of DG Connect.
First of all, if I also really introduce me, I hope you can hear me. Not my voice is maybe not as good as.
Yeah.
You hear me better?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. No, in my case, it's not the water. The problem is just my voice has never been very, very strong. So, voilà. This is still. That's me. Thanks for inviting me. I'm coming back to Porto. This is always nice. I was born 250 kilometers to the north of this place, so it's always nice to come back and to see how the city is evolving wonderfully there. So I'm going to try to present some of our initiatives around the AI stack, the telco AI stack. And let me start with something which is quite obvious to all of you participating here, which is this convergence of networks, AI, and cloud. No? And this driven by software, and what so that when you read our papers, the jargon, the Eurospeak doesn't deter you from understanding what we're trying to say, is what we call the connected collaborative computing, which is the ecosystem covering from semiconductors, compute, both edge, cloud, radio technologies, data, and applications there. So this, as Rob already presented, this, as I said, presents a lot of opportunities coming forward. But these opportunities also come with some issues. One of these challenges for us at the in the European Union is precisely that of tech dependency. So in the slide, you see some of the work that our colleagues from the Joint Research Center did on particularly in this case, in semiconductors. So you see these, in the European Union, we have around a consumption of around 41 billion per year, 10% of the global one. So, and you see that this, for the case of semiconductors, they are just not industrial goods, but they are enablers for many other elements, enablers for green technology, green transitions, enablers for deal infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. The case of electric vehicles comes to mind, et cetera. You see here in the upper right quadrant an area where there are products that are hard to replace domestically and come from very small number of countries. This case was about germanium and gallium. But this situation is not much better for processors, for controllers, or for memory coming from Taiwan. So this picture is not that dissimilar for the case of AI or cloud services there. So the 3rd of June 2020, so a few weeks ago, we presented what is called the tech sovereignty package. So let me clarify exactly what tech sovereignty means, because tech sovereignty is not that the European Union will do everything ourselves. This wouldn't make sense, but what we're aiming here is something that we can develop and control key technologies there, data and infrastructures, and that we reduce the dependency of non-European players. So this contained 2 legislative proposals. One is about the Cloud and AI Development Act. The other has to do with the CHIPS Act 2.0. There has a number of other strategy papers around open source strategy, as well as something regarding strategy for energy and data centers. But these are not the only ones. You know, here's the whole package that we list ourselves in our communications. So you see all the levers that the European Commission has at its hands. So we have the possibility to propose legislation, to enforce legislation. That's the case of the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. That has sometimes not been so well received in the other side of the Atlantic. But you also have funding instruments there, as well as international relations and trade, and also strategy. So you see a lot of work around AI. Some of these I will touch later on. Some targets in the decade, infrastructure technologies, particularly as changes that will come through the proposed Digital Networks Act, elements around data, and so on and so forth. I don't want to, each one will take a long time to cover. So briefly, some of you, I'm sure some of you are already working I heard from Raymond that you've already been involved in, some of you are involved in SNS projects, the Smart Networks and Services Joint Undertaking that is built together with the industry. The goal of this joint undertaking is first to foster the tech sovereignty in 6G, and secondly to boost the development of 5G. In Europe. And this has been uneven at best. You know, I live in Brussels, obviously, and I live close to this is a small joke. I'm not intending to hit on the telecom providers there, but my mother in Coruña, you know, not in the city center, has had 5G for close to 5 years, and I have recently been able to enjoy 5G speeds living 50 meters away from where our leaders meet regularly in Brussels. So just as a joke. Here you see in the slide a number of the projects that currently we're funding with the SNS initiative and that are related to AI. These are not the only ones. You can go directly to the website. You have a lot of a nice a link there where they list all the achievements, some of the publications there. So this is one of our elements there. The second one is something that we just launched quite recently, and that has to do with the Euro 3C project, which is a 75 million euro project that intends precisely to be it's the first large-scale pilot that implements this 3C ambition that I mentioned to you before. So this means we have around more than 70 partners in this consortium that is implementing. So the major vendors, Nokia, Ericsson, plus the biggest telco providers in Europe. And therefore, obviously, the federation is one important element here. This federation of telco edge cloud infrastructure, obviously, this means multi-vendor interoperability, open interfaces, a unified service catalog, orchestration around these different domains, and ultimately trying also to come up with a business with a long-term sustainability ecosystem for this vision there. We've started work on this, and this plans to go until 2029. So that's zooming out. Member states are also very active in this domain, and we have another one of our Eurospeak words is the important projects of common European interest, the IPCI. And that relates to funding that comes from member states, but have a speedier access approval process for state aid. State aid and the competition policies are one of our sacrosanct policies in the European Union. So this is a way to make it speedier to use public funding to fund some initiatives. This is what you have there is the reference architecture produced by IPCI-SIS, which is the next generation cloud infrastructure and services, which mobilize around 1.2 billion euros from member states in 19 projects. We are in the process of building the new one for AI with 18 member states, and potentially the new one. This will be an uptake of some of the elements for the IPCI-SIS that comes to an end, and then potentially another for the computer infrastructure continuum, which already has 15 member states that showed interest, but is still under preparation, and we don't know exactly what the scope is here. So coming back to the strategy, in March last year, we presented what is the AI continent. The AI continent sits on 5 legs. You see the compute infrastructure, data, skills, and workable AI rules, plus something that was a bit vague, the development of algorithms and adoption, which meant that we approved in October a more detailed apply AI strategy, which asks businesses to consider AI as a useful solution for the starting, but also acknowledging the risks. This is one of the elements that you see if you read the AI Act. This is one of the elements that there's a risk-based approach, and the different models, some of them are forbidden, and the others require some assessment, and the others are approved without any further, without any other issues there. So obviously it's to enhance competitiveness and to develop our tech sovereignty. You'll see that the tech sovereignty is one of our main mottos these days. So just to keep this in mind, and already with the definition I gave you before. Again, in our jargon, we don't talk about telco. We talk about electronic communications because, unfortunately, that's the name that our previous main framework, legislative framework had, which is the Electronic Communications Code. So therefore, that's why we call it electronic communications, okay? So this strategy contains elements for 10 industrial sectors plus the public sector. One of these industrial sectors is obviously the electronic communications code, the telco sector. And within that, we started working a number of actions. The first one is the European Telco AI platform. So we have started to scope this initiative. We've been discussing with different stakeholders exactly what would be something that is close to the market, so very high TRLs, 7, 8, so that we are able to produce something quite fast. Our thinking is to launch this next year, early next year, but at the same time that fits within all what we already mentioned to you. So that fits within Euro 3C, fits within the IPCIs, fits within our work so far within SNS. So that's something that is close to that, but at the same time that's close to market. So this is still early on. We have not yet fully scoped. So I will be today and tomorrow here. So any ideas you want, please don't hesitate to come forward to engage and to discuss. We also have work on edge AI devices and on 6G networks for data, for models on data. So that's, I don't want to go, this you know very well, the different diverse opportunity. Rob already presented some to you. This transition of mobile network operators from just being connectivity providers to being hosting, to being the host of some kind of compute infrastructure at the edge most of the time. This is still up to be seen whether this happens. We've been discussing with industry, and sometimes the use cases are not that clear. But virtualization, multi-tenancy would be the way to go. Lastly, I would like to give you, these are some statistics around open source that we present that our colleagues in SNS have compiled. But here, take into account the calendar for release 21 of 3GPP. This is, we think this is a right moment to start to make sure that our voice is heard in these institutions. We've seen that in a number of cases, our presence has been gradually been reduced. I know there's a big tendency of moving everything to software. That you see on the left side, the contribution to the SDGs from ETSI. But if we want to make sure that we have a voice and that voice is heard and our concerns are heard, this is the right moment to come up. On this, we think that having some kind of common joint European priorities would be good. So if you will also have some of this, please don't hesitate. And with that, I finish my talk.